Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome President Jay Simons.
Welcome back, day two. First of all, let's just give it a huge round of applause to DJ Christina, keeping the show going. How was Bash? I see some people are sleeping in this morning. Bash good? Yeah, it's awesome. Who were the folks that were out with Mike and Scott until 4 o'clock in the morning? Raise your hands. Because you need to tell us where they are. Where are they? They got to get backstage. We're going to bring Mike and Scott on shortly for some Q&A. But before we do, I thought we'd start with a little bit of fun. One of my favorite segments from, not the original Tonight Show, but the Jay Leno Tonight Show, was a little segment called Jaywalking. Jay walked around the street and asked people questions and sometimes got interesting answers. And because I'm Jay, I got to do that. So we had a little fun with you. Thanks to all the participants. We walked around the show floor, asked you guys a few things, and we got some interesting answers. One of the things we wanted to learn is how many of you knew Mike and Scott. And I think you'd be surprised how many do. All right, so here's what you told us.
MCB, like Mary Charlie Boy. Mike?
I think so.
Yes, I think so.
Yes. Ah, yes.
No.
Do not.
I do know who Mike Cannon-Brooks is. He's one of the co-founders.
Oh yeah, I know him.
Should I tell you about the time that I met Mike Cannon-Brooks?
Yeah, please.
You will definitely be cutting it. So.
Yeah.
So I had a very memorable first impression of Mike Cannon-Brooks.
Oh man, I feel like I heard this already and I should know it. I don't know.
No.
Sorry, I don't. Mark Warren. I don't know.
Farquhar.
My favorite announcement was definitely the release of the home features.
I like seeing the details of Stride. It's very cool.
Really like the Stride announcement in the demo. Yeah, Stride. I think today I like the Stride thing. What was up there, indeed. Yeah, you guys are rocking there. Stride looks great.
Yeah. The new brand is really sexy. I like it. You guys did an awesome job.
I don't have a favorite. They were all amazing.
And mobile server. I'm excited about that, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the participants. So I'm glad to hear so much excitement about the things that we're doing because we're excited about what we're doing and what we talked about yesterday. We're excited about all the ways that we're making server and data center products better for you. We're especially excited about mobile for server because we use our server products at Atlassian. And I wanted to share, before we bring Mike and Scott on, a couple things that I'm personally excited about from yesterday's keynote. One of the big ones that you heard folks mention is Stride. Stride is awesome. And I'm super excited about how we've combined messaging, meetings, tools for actions and decisions into something that's new, different, fast, and fun to use. And we've been using it for a couple of months, and it's truly fantastic. One of the most exciting features, in my opinion, is the ability to track actions from conversations. And the demo yesterday was pretty fast. And you may have missed what I think is one of the favorite bits, or at least my favorite bits of the product. Stride lets you rewind conversations back to the point that a decision was made. And there's a lot of discussion that happens in rooms and channels between people. And the fact that you can turn part of that conversation into something that you can refer back to, super powerful. So if you're gone for 5 days on vacation and the team decided something, you can immediately hit that decision and scroll back through 5 days of conversation about all sorts of different things to the point in time where that decision was made. And I wanted to really quickly go through that demo again, just because yesterday was super fast. So I think we'll cue it here. The team that you saw yesterday is talking about something. They decide that the color is going to be yellow. they make that a decision that they want to refer back to. And again, as you saw, that decision is recorded on the panel on the right, so you can click it. But what you may have missed is when you click on that decision, you scroll right back to the point of conversation, whether it's 5 days or 5 months. And all of the really valuable discussion that people had around the decision that you made is really easy and quick to find, and you can catch back up. I think that's amazing. Second thing I'm super excited about, personally, is the teamwork platform, and especially Home. And you heard, I think that echoed in a few voices during the jaywalking segment. Home has the potential to be the place that you both begin and end your day. And all of the things that you do in between, Home can help track. From working in Google Docs to using documents in Dropbox. I kind of think of Home as the combination of a super high-powered personal assistant and a personal diary for what you do at work. I think it has the potential to really, really keep people both on the same page and moving forward. And the elements from the teamwork platform are really bringing our products to life in new and interesting ways, from app mentions to file sharing. And the user experience across them will be consistent and amazing. And finally, I continue to be more and more excited about Trello because it continues to change how I get work done, and also features pretty prominently in my life outside of Atlassian. I have every room in my house is a list on a Trello board called Our Home that I share with my wife Monique and my 2 kids to track stuff that we need to get done around the house, from hanging a TV on the wall of the living room to restocking paper towels in the kitchen. When I'm feeling especially snarky, sometimes I rename this board to stuff Jay needs to do. But it's an awesome way to stay on the same page, and a simple example of the power of Trello outside of work. I've even adopted Trello to manage my one-on-ones at Atlassian. And this was something that I used to do in Confluence. I'd create a page called one-on-one between Jay and the person I'm having a one-on-one with, and all that stuff was on a Confluence page. And shifting to Trello has really been a big change, because it's a more dynamic way for me and folks on my team to drive discussion, to drive agenda items to meetings, add notes, track follow-ups. Try it for that. It's awesome. And even though it's a collaboration between 2 people, it's a step forward. It's also fascinating to see Trello become a much bigger way that we organize things inside of Atlassian. At the keynote yesterday, you saw 15 speakers on stage, and that's an amazing feat of teamwork. What you may not have appreciated is that behind the scenes, all of the moving parts were planned inside of Trello. The topics, the flow, the transitions, the speakers, all of the tech elements, everything that we brought together was worked on inside of a Trello board across a diaspora of people at Atlassian in almost every one of our offices. Gave us visibility and shared perspective and helped us move a lot faster. And again, this is something that we used to do in Confluence. Confluence is great at a lot of things, but Trello was better at this particular thing. So throughout Summit, you've heard us talk about the products that we have and new things that we're adding to them, and how they help power great teams. And our products are definitely a part of that math, but they're not alone. Great teams are the result of not just the right products, but also the right people and the right practices, different ways of working. And that's why we shared the team playbook last year, and why we continue to evolve and improve it. The playbook originated from us scaling our own teams at Atlassian. And the same version that we share externally with you is what we use internally. For those unfamiliar with it, the team playbook is really 2 things. It is content to help you assess how your team works together and identify areas where you can improve. We call those health monitors. The other thing it is a specific set of exercises to help you improve the things you've identified that you want to make better. We call those plays. There are 3 health monitors for 3 different types of teams: leadership teams, service teams, and project teams. You might be on one or more of those. And there are 26 plays for everything from project posters to retrospectives to project kickoffs. All of the content templates that back up those plays and exercises are available for you free in both Confluence Cloud and Confluence Server. So here's a look at health monitors and plays. Now, recently we added a new feature of the team playbook that we call game plans, based on a lot of feedback that we've heard from you when you've taken the playbook and the exercises and the health monitors into your teams. Game plans package up a specific set of plays for things that your teams are trying to accomplish, from DevOps to cross-functional projects to operational planning. And they provide you a much simpler way to get started. It can be daunting to begin with 26 different things and a bunch of health checks, and where do you start? So you can start with a particular thing and get going immediately, and over time, sort of advance up the ninja black belts for creating more healthy teams. So all of this is available, as some of you know, because you're using it at Atlassian.com/team-playbook. And we've translated it in Spanish, French, German, Portuguese, Japanese, and again, we continue to make it better. Now, we're super excited about how you're taking this inside of your teams and the stories that you share with us about how it's changing and improving teamwork on top of the products that you're using. And we want more of those stories, but I wanted to share one of them. This is from Lee McGuffey, who is the head of brand at Virgin Group.
The things we just stood up was the health monitors. We are using them quite a lot, actually. We're coming in and out, and the leadership one helped massively with getting the right balance together and enabling us to measure velocity. And we also took a look at some of the service and project team monitors as well, and particularly in the project one helped with ownership quite recently on a big project we were doing. And from the service side, it really helped about where we started and stopped. And because I've got a split team where we do some service and project, dipping in and out of these and refreshing them, even in sort of 20, 30-minute nuggets is brilliant. So it's a constant for us. We're dipping in and out, and I've got the PDFs printed out on my desk. So whenever we're looking to sort of refresh everyone, we just bang out some of the service monitors, which is brilliant. So thanks.
Awesome. We'd love to hear more stories from you, similar to these, about your use of the playbook. And to sweeten the deal, we will pick one organization that submits stories and shares them with us to that email address right there, to host on us a special health check session conducted by our own Dr. Dom. You've seen him on stage. And trust me, when Dr. Dom probes your team, there is no better motivation to be healthy. But now it's time to bring on Mike and Scott. So let's get on with the Q&A session, and welcome to the stage, if they actually manage to wind their way back, our CEOs and co-founder, Mike Cannon-Brookes and Scott Farquhar. So, you guys look a little ragged. You look a little ragged. And I know these guys a little bit after many years, and I know that both of you like Mexican food, because you can't get good Mexican food in Australia, particularly the breakfast burrito. I think you also like smoothies. So I wanted to begin by making my own personal recipe of breakfast burrito smoothie, just really quick. So we've got a blender here. We're going to add some spinach, some avocado, a raw egg, maybe with some shell, some Tabasco. Who's had this recipe before? A little bit of Red Bull, right? Am I right? And some tomato juice. Gonna be good. A little bit of ice. All right. Who had the smoothies, by the way, on the concourse? Yeah? All right, here we go. So we're gonna ratchet this down. I'm gonna blend it.
Jay, where did the smoothie
really fast?
Come from?
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh. Get it smooth. All right. Yeah, that's looking good. That's looking good. All right. And I'm gonna pour one for each of us. Actually, there's not enough for me. It's like, and get a start. That's Mike's.
That's the fair.
That's Mike. All right, here you go. Cheers to you guys. Wake up. Mike's game.
It's interesting.
Not bad.
There's a little more Tabasco.
All right.
I know we practiced backstage that one of us said we had to like it. I just don't.
I'll tell it
just can't do
just
it.
to see if it's. That's not bad.
It's not as bad as it sounds.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Really
All right.
not as bad as it sounds.
So I want to warm up a little bit just to get the juices flowing. And so I'm going to give you guys a scenario just to start out with. You're stuck on a deserted island. Not together, by the way, just alone, so that changes your answers maybe. And I'm going to give you a list of things that you have to choose from that you take with you. So this is your packing list for your trip to a deserted island. So really quickly, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Tea.
Ooh. Wine or beer?
Wine.
Beer.
Yeah. Burger or burrito?
Burrito.
Burrito.
Yeah, easier to pack. Chocolate or cheese?
Chocolate.
Chocolate.
iPhone 8 or iPhone, is it X or 10? X.
They're the same thing? 8?
No.
It's been a busy week. So
All right, you guys missed the announcement. Board games or video games?
Board games. Well, by myself? Like, probably video games.
You might find some people on the island.
Does the island have power?
You're overthinking it. All right, ketchup or mustard? Tomato sauce or mustard?
Tomato sauce.
Mustard.
Rom-com or sci-fi?
Sci-fi.
I know this is hard for Mike.
Dude, it's rom-com. I know
Probably rom-com.
Yeah, rom-com. Sneakers or sandals?
Sandals.
Sneakers.
All right. Fiction or nonfiction?
Fiction.
Nonfiction.
Yeah. Personal chef or personal trainer? That's a hard one.
Is there anything on the island but coconuts? He makes amazing coconuts.
Personal chef.
Chef.
All right. Netflix or YouTube?
Netflix.
YouTube.
All right. Chocolate, strawberry, or vanilla?
Vanilla.
Probably vanilla.
All right. This is a really important one for the audience. Spaces or tabs?
Tabs.
Spaces.
Spaces don't make any sense.
Your mother or your mother-in-law? I'm just kidding. Don't answer that one. Don't answer that one. Don't answer that one. Nice job. All right, that's a warm-up, so that's not so tough. Good job. So when we've done this before, we end up spending a lot of time getting to know you both, and I thought we might switch it up a little bit and maybe have some fun exploring how well you know each other. So we're going to need a couple of props for this. Let's bring out the dividing wall. So they don't know that we're doing this. And then we're going to give you we're going to give you some writing instruments.
I'm going to put this thing down. It's pretty good.
Scott's super competitive, so he's already got his adrenaline going. So I'm gonna give you a series of questions, and I want you to write the answer down and then show it to all of us. Okay? You ready? You're gonna be easy. We're gonna warm up. What Atlassian value best describes your co-founder? Ready? Go. Oh, Mike's writing paragraphs. Oh, he's thinking about it. He's changing his mind.
Sorry.
All right. Ooh, open company, no bullshit. Scott's described you, Mike, and build with heart and balance. All right, nice job. Erase them. Yeah. So this is an interesting question. So I want you to write on two separate lines. Not yet, not music yet. On two separate lines, top and bottom. On the top, I want you to write how many ship-its, and decimal places are allowed here, how many ship-its has your co-founder won in a number, decimal places allowed. And beneath that, how many have you won? He's still working on it. Okay, like show each other. All right. Show each other. Yeah. There you go. All right. All right. Erase it again. This one's a little bit harder. We might need a little music while you guys work on this one. So I want you to draw the spirit animal that best represents your co-founder. Draw the spirit animal that best represents your co-founder. We also get to see what kind of artists you guys are here. The spirit animal. This is going to be good. You're going to have to explain why, too, because we're not going to, I don't know that we're going to know what that is. Oh, yeah, I know what it is now. That's a mythical creature. Yeah. Okay, what'd we get? So, okay. All right. So, Mike, why don't we start with you? What'd you draw and why?
It was a tiger.
Tiger?
Yeah. He's pretty relentless. He can be pretty fierce. But he's kind of a pussycat underneath, so.
Scott, what'd you draw? I don't know what that is. Is that a griffin?
I think it is. A mythical creature that does amazing things that shouldn't be possible.
All right. Awesome, awesome. Erase. So here, this is an easier one. What MacBook keyboard shortcut best describes your co-founder? Ooh. Come on, you're going to nail this one. Scott has an encyclopedic memory for MacBook keyboard shortcuts. He's trying to think of one that none of us know. All right, are you ready? Here we go. Command plus F1. Why?
It switches screens, and Mike's always thinking about shit that you can't see.
Ooh, nice. That's good. That's good. Oh, Shift X. Yeah? Why, Mike?
I don't know why Scott is famous for yelling at people. Shift X, Shift X. When you play a Keynote presentation, if you put the rehearsal mode, like the speaker notes are up on the big projector and you're seeing the presentation, you hit Shift X to switch and Keynote defaults to the wrong one a lot.
All right, awesome. So let's erase again. We got a couple more. Let's take it up a notch and make it a little bit more competitive. Write pi to as many decimal places as you can. Ooh. Ooh. All right, that's more than I could have done. Ooh, let's see, 3.1415 wrong. So Scott won. Scott won. 3.14159255358. All right. Well done.
What happened if we had more than that?
You wouldn't. I had the whole thing. Which one of you would make it furthest on Survivor? And be prepared to answer why.
I have to draw this?
No, you don't have to draw it. Just,
What?
just which one? The answer is going to be either Mike or Scott.
I've never watched Survivor. Is it like a physical challenge thing, or is there some like mind games?
Mental,
you need to play?
physical, emotional.
Who's the only one that's going to enter?
All right, turn around. You guys are so gracious. You guys so gracious. All right. So we saw Mike's dance moves yesterday on stage, and that made me wonder which co-founder, which of you would win a dance-off?
Oh, fuck, that's easy. You guys saw it right.
Oh, that's the right answer, Mike, because otherwise they were going to cue the music, and we would have done it right here. All right, so a couple more of these. So this one, I want you to answer the question for just Mike. right? So we're just answering for Mike here, both of you. Which Star Wars character is Mike most like? Scott, you have to answer which you think Mike is most like, and Mike, you have to answer who you think you are most like. Star Wars character. Ooh, not where I thought you were going to go, Scott, I'll be honest.
Is or wants to be.
What?
Different, is or wants to be. They're different answers.
Oh, Mike's put a lot of thought into this. Here we go. Let's see it. Oh, Han Solo. Han Solo, nice.
Who's Hans Solo? Like Hans Gruber.
Okay, same question about Scott, but we're going to do Star Trek. And we're talking the original series here, so Kirk, Spock, the whole gang. And I think we should limit it to just people that were on the bridge. Did you guys see the original Star Trek?
No. I don't even need to know what he said. I know exactly what.
What did he say, Scott? What did he say?
That's what he wrote. I don't know. Like, is that what you wrote? Yeah, okay.
All right, one last one. Who's your favorite co-founder?
Favorite what?
Who's your favorite co-founder? Oh, good job. All right, let's move the wall. Let's move the wall and get to some serious questions and do it while we have time. Thanks, guys. That was good fun. Round of applause for these guys. They didn't know we were going to do it. We really did surprise them with that, so I'll hear about it later with some radical candor. We've got a bunch of great questions from customers, but I wanted to kick off with one for me. The keynote yesterday was packed with a lot of stuff. And I'm not asking you necessarily to call it favorites, but I'm wondering what each of you, and I'll start with you, Scott, was most personally excited to share. There's a lot that I know we're excited to share, but what were you most personally excited to share?
For me, it's probably the teamwork platform that we announced yesterday. If we think about what we do, it's kind of helping teams work better together. And that teamwork platform, though it's in Stride to start with and at home, it's going to come to all of our products. So it's been a multi-year effort by a huge number of people across Atlassian to get that out. So I'm really excited to see how people in the audience use that. Like, I think it's going to change the way that work gets done.
Yeah. All right. Mike?
I can see you.
That's a tough question. I'm going to go with two.
Two. All right. It's allowed.
I think all of the service desk, the translations, embedded portal, customized portal, everything else, given how well service desk is doing, and the fact that they're really trying to take it to everybody on the planet, languages, everything else is a real, perhaps less famous member of the keynote that I think was really exciting, and maybe we didn't give enough time to yesterday. And I would have to say Stride for the inverse reason that Scott, the number of people that worked on Stride across the businesses, we had people in 4 different offices working on it, all the parts of the platform that were surfacing for the first time, as well as the messaging, the meetings, the video stuff, everything together. It's pretty exciting. It's pretty awesome to use. So,
yeah. All right. So we got questions that folks submitted both through the app and through the web, and then also swung by the booth and were kind enough to have themselves recorded. I thought we'd start with a video question from Brittany, and Brittany asked this question about our brand.
Hi, I'm Brittany Wisbell from Adaptivist, and here's my question. How did you come up with the Atlassian name and all of your product names?
Mike, why don't you start with that one?
All of the product names, that could be a long answer. I mean, the Atlassian name is obviously just Atlas that I think we've called it the adjectival form of Atlas, but my mom hates that because she's like, there's no such thing as adjectival, the word doesn't exist. We made Atlas into an adjective, obviously the legendary service part of Atlas. Nice bit of trivia. Has anyone seen the old Charlie logo that's like got the thing, a swoosh on top of it? Every time you see a picture of Atlas, it's actually a fake representation, if you think about it. Even the one in Rockefeller Square, Rockefeller Center, because in all the depictions of Atlas, it's this way, like he's holding up the earth, but actually what he was doing was standing on the Atlas Mountains in Morocco and holding up the sky, so it should be this way in all the depictions, but everyone draws it the other way. Trivia. So yeah, we took Atlas and we made it into an adjective, I suppose. How do we come up with the product names? We spent a lot of time on naming. Naming's really hard, really, really hard. I really like bamboo. I always thought that was a great name, just because it's a building material, it's light, it's flexible, but it's unusual. It's not like very building. Crowd's always been a long favorite name of mine, just because it's a unique word. It's simple, it's easily identifiable, but it really describes what it does. Pretty happy with Stride. It took us a long time to come up with a name for that, and yeah, I think the team nailed it. Stride. It's really good.
How about Jira, Scott? Where did Jira come from?
Jira came from Mike's late night TV watching, actually.
Yeah, so there used to be a tool called Bugzilla, very, very early days, and we wanted to build a better version of that, I guess. And so Gojira is Japanese for Godzilla, which is where Bugzilla came from, so we just went with the Jira part of Gojira. And then I've been asked so many times over the years what it stands for, and we've had to make up. Can you remember any of the acronyms? There's a lot of acronyms that Jira supposedly stands for.
Yeah, and so for
issue reporting and analysis or something.
For a long time, until recently, Jira was all capitalized. What drove that? What made you many years ago to put it in all caps?
Nothing other than it made it stand out.
Yeah. All right.
Like it sounded like a word that you would yell, like if you were Japanese. So
Jira.
I don't know. And it looked good when you read it. When you wrote it, it was more balanced.
Scott, another question folks asked about Brand was, what's happening to Charlie? Did he get a good severance package? And does the new logo have a name yet?
So Charlie, again, the guy holding up the sky, the world, he was actually, well, we're Atlassian, and he didn't have a name. And there was a bodybuilder, I think in the 70s, I think, called Charles Atlas. And someone internally said, oh, we could buff him up a little bit and call him Charlie. And so that's where the name Charlie came from. And he'll stick around internally. I think Atlassians love him a lot. We'll still kind of revere him internally. He's sort of just hung up he's retired from public life. He's going to be used internally. I don't know if we've got a new name for the Atlassian logo yet. So all suggestions welcome.
All right. And then maybe switch back to you, Mike. You talked a little bit about this, but I thought you could explain it a little bit more broadly, because folks asked the question, what was the main reason behind the rebrand? What drove it?
I mean, I think I said it yesterday, right? The Charlie logo, it's bugged quite a few of us for a long time that it's a single person standing there, and we're a company that's all about teams. And it just didn't kind of make sense anymore, right? And the more you see that, the more that I think it started to annoy people that it was that way around. So trying to change it with the new design language and some of the new product logos and everything all at the same time, it was a logical time to attempt to do that. And I got to say, I honestly think it's one of the best pieces of work that our marketing and branding teams have ever done. It was awesome. It was fantastic piece of work, and there's a lot more. I think there's like 2 or 3 more blog posts coming out about some of the background with how the marketing team actually did some of the things. There's a lot of thinking, a lot of logic, a lot of great work behind it. There's a fantastic font, which they spent a lot of time on the font for all sorts of reasons that are in the blog post, so all coming soon.
Do you guys each have a product logo that you're particularly drawn to? Like when you looked at it, you were like, I love that one.
I love the Atlassian logo. I think for me that's, as you imagine, you go through this process and the design team come up with thousands of logos, and there's all sorts of things they can see in those logos that I can't. The designers, it's a bit like wine. There's like, oh, it's fantastic, and they describe all these words that I don't even understand what they mean. And you go through hundreds of them, and then you eventually land on the logo that's just the one, right? And for me, the Atlassian logo, like the one we've got now, it just, every person in the room said, yeah, that's our new logo.
Yeah. Any product logos that stood out for you, Mike? Were you?
I really like the Jira software logo. Like with all the experimentations with the Jira family, it was quite hard to find a series of logos that work well for the generic Jira logo and Jira Core, Jira Software, Jira Service Desk. But when someone put the two chevrons together and we started using the chevrons and playing with them, obviously with software, HTML, the chevrons and stuff, it made a lot of sense. Fit together really nicely.
Switch gears a little bit. We had a bunch of questions around products specifically. So I think we'll go to another video question. This is from Jessica that had a question about Jira and Trello.
Hi, I'm Jessica Witt, OG leader from Kansas City, and I work at the Stowers Institute for Medical Research. My question is, I noticed that there were a lot of Jira functionalities added to Trello and a lot of Trello functionalities added to Jira. So are these two products going to converge?
I mean, simple answer is no. No. We intend them to be two separate products for a long time. They definitely have, the way I describe it is there's definitely some overlapping functionality. There are things you can do in Jira that you can do in Trello. There are things you can do in Trello that you can do in Jira. I would argue the set of things you can do in both, you can probably do in Excel as well, right? So there's sort of this world of, there's a lot of tools you can do sort of basic things in. It's interesting that the most popular integration that we got asked for was the Jira Trello integration. So a lot of people are linking work and connecting work between the two. Quite often they'll have one team in one team in another for all sorts of reasons. Fundamentally, if you want to think about the biggest difference, Trello is it's a shared perspective. So the idea is that everybody sees effectively the same perspective. If you think about it within a board, there's no permissioning, restriction, like no way of getting a different perspective on something just as a board on a wall. You all see the same thing. Jira obviously is a lot more nuanced than that, with lots of different ways of restricting visibility of issues from certain customers or certain groups or whatever. So that's a big thing that if you zoom out is really that Jira has a lot more configurability and structure when you need structured workflows and compliance and restrictions, and when it moves to this part of the workflow, these people can do these things or be assigned it, etc. Trello is a lot more free-form than that, number one. Number two, Trello can be used for like so many different things, right? In Jira, you have columns and they represent workflow steps, right? That's what you do in there. In Trello, columns can represent anything, right? So when you have a list, it doesn't have to be to do in progress done. Right? Michael tells a great story. There's a reason that the default board does not say to do in progress done, because you're supposed to put your own meaning into the lists. Quite often you'll see people with some sort of a inbox type list, and then a done list, and then a long-term list, and a things I'm working on list, and things don't necessarily move linearly back and forth. It's a very visual tool. People use it for, as you saw in Nikita's book club example, it's just a much more flexible and visible.
So we got a bunch of questions about Stride. I might throw this one at you, Scott. We talked about building Stride from the ground up. Why didn't we just add those features to HipChat?
Well, as I mentioned, the thing I'm really excited about Stride, well, there's a few things in the platform. So changing the way the teams work with actions, decisions. There's a whole bunch of other things that we're doing, completely redone. Media, voice and video is another one. So we didn't touch on it, I think, as much in the keynote, but we have dial-in voice now for Stride. So some people are on the road and they don't have time to dial in, or they want to dial in on their phones. So that's available. And so all those things made it the right choice to rebuild from scratch. And HipChat, everything we've learned from HipChat, we got to put into Stride. And HipChat's still going to be a really strong product for those of you who want to install something behind the firewall. So that's continuing to go well, but in the cloud, architecturally wise, it made a lot of sense for us to rebuild.
We've got a video question here about Jira and some of the design tools and sort of design integration that we talked about yesterday. This is from Tony.
Hi, this is Tony from Austin, Texas. I'm an OG leader. My question is around the recent announcement with Jira integrating with design tools such as Sketch. What was the decision on actually making the integration rather than just updating Jira to make it more design-friendly so that way they can work with developers?
I want to throw that one at you, Scott.
Yeah, so as you saw yesterday, we have a Sketch integration between Jira and Sketch to basically allow designers to spend their time in the tools that they spend most of their days working in. So at Atlassian, we have a philosophy that we want you to get work done, not spend all your day in Atlassian products. And so we'll continue to try and push work into the products you use. But I think straight after the Sketch integration we showed in the keynote, we then showed how we're spending huge amounts of time and effort making Jira simpler. We have huge design teams that have done a lot of research and a lot of user testing, a lot of numerical research around our customer base and how to make Jira simpler. And we know designers are probably the most particular group of customers. They give us a lot of really good feedback about how to improve things. So you're going to see all of our products get simpler, but we're going to continue to make sure we do integrations to products where people do their work.
There was a couple of questions around cloud and server, and one of the questions is whether the features of both those platforms will continue to diverge, and just generally, what's the guiding philosophy? How do we think about both of them long term in terms of where we make investments and how we improve them?
We're pretty lucky. We have two incredible customer bases, our cloud customer base and our server customer base. And we're lucky and we continue to invest huge amounts in both sides. And as time goes on, we see that there's different requirements in those two different customer bases. And the advantage of having both deployment options is we can run a whole bunch of experimentation and testing in the cloud environment and get feedback often within the same week. And we use all that information and what works, and then we take that and put that into the server version. And so I guess we have that sort of that benefit for people on both sides.
How about enterprise in the cloud? We talked a little bit about Identity Manager, but what about how do you see cloud scaling to support larger and larger companies? And just generally, how do you guys think about the market trend towards software as a service and use in the cloud?
Sure. I mean, I think, look, long-term software as a service, obviously it makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of reasons why a lot of companies can't go there: compliance reasons, regulatory reasons, take time to transition reasons, legacy system reasons, integration reasons. There's a whole lot of reasons why you can't go. And we've, as Scott said, always been super pro customer choice. I wouldn't describe maybe as two customer bases. Like we have a lot of customers that live on both sides as well, so we spend a lot of time making sure that you can move your data back and forth and all that sort of thing. That said, we have a lot more larger customers going to cloud and pushing the limits of the cloud offering. We've made some major retooling and infrastructure changes in cloud, part of which we announced in Barcelona about 6 months ago with the European cloud that we now have. So for European customers, it's a lot faster, it's a lot closer. We can do a lot more European-specific things that we could never do beforehand. Part of that is heading to larger and larger customer bases in cloud. So you saw the first enterprise cloud offering that Cameron announced yesterday in Identity Manager for single sign-on, SAML, enforced two-factor authentication, a whole bunch of offerings around managing users. There's a feature called Organizations that didn't spend time talking about, which allows you to track a single organization across a whole series of Atlassian cloud offerings and manage where your users are and take control of those users effectively. So, I mean, that's the first offering down that path. We're working really hard on removing the 2,000 user limit that's currently on cloud. That will happen at some time in the future. Yeah, we can't announce that today, but we're working hard on that.
All right, awesome. Let's go to one last video question. This is from Maud, and she had a great question on scaling culture.
Hi, I'm Maud from Valiantis, and my question is, how did you manage to keep the company culture at Atlassian like it was at the beginning, although you have more than 2,000 employees and offices worldwide?
I'll take that one. I don't think a company culture is probably the same at 2,000 people as it was with 2. I think of values and culture as two very different things. Values are the things that all your employees hold true, and culture is the way that work gets done in an organization. And the way work gets done in a 10-person organization is different to 100, is different to 1,000. When you're 10-person size, the way work gets done is you walk over to someone's desk and say, I need to get something done, and it happens, and that's the way I guess, information moves and things are prioritized. When you're 1,000 people, you need an annual planning process, and so the culture actually evolves over time. And we spend a lot of time hiring for values. We have a very, our values are up on our walls. They're sort of core to everything we do. We bake them into our hiring process. We even have a values interview where someone who's not, in the direct team hiring that person will, interview someone for values and make sure that they fit the rest of Atlassian's values. Interesting enough, it's actually quite sometimes difficult to do that from a diversity perspective because sometimes people confuse, hey, someone who is Atlassian's values to, hey, they look and sound a lot like me. And so we've had to do a lot of training for people to say, no, people can look and have different interests on the weekend and be a different person, but yet still hold the same things true. And I think that's, doing that, we had our values from when we were about 100 people. And so I think having them for well over 10 years means that we've really attracted an incredible group of people. And even here at Summit, the number one thing I hear from all our attendees here is that the thing they get most out of Summit is chatting with Atlassians. Not necessarily the sessions or the keynotes, it's actually talking to Atlassians, hearing how we do things, and I think that's a testament to our culture and also a testament to all the Atlassians we have here today.
So, Mike, building an open culture, we talked about openness both at the beginning of the show and then yesterday, and building an open culture sounds great, but it can be really hard to go back, especially to larger companies, and begin sort of a journey towards openness. So what's your advice for introducing openness when it's not being led top down, both in small and large organizations?
I think the first thing you have to do is whatever position you're in, you can take some form of a leadership role in talking to people about openness. So even if you just have a team or a handful of people around you, I think you can take a leadership position in explaining why you think this is important. You can take one or two angles on it. You don't have to sort of kind of say we're going to open up all these things, so you can do it slowly. I would think of it as a journey that you want to be a little bit more open. You can explain to people the benefits of doing that. You should, obviously, as a leader, be vulnerable or be more open yourself. Promote people who are trying to display behaviors of opening. If someone's in a meeting and the sort of open way of thinking, some of the stuff that Kim Scott talked about, having good critical feedback in a meeting, constructive feedback, you should support people who say, I'm not sure that's a good idea. Oh, why do you think that's not a good, and champion and support as a leader the people who are doing those things to try to open up your team, your group, and hopefully that leads you to be more successful. And then, hopefully it spreads around your organization.
So maybe a good segue into Radical Candor. I really enjoyed that talk and loved the book. What's the most radically candid piece of feedback that you have each received in your careers, and how did it help you grow? And maybe not just your career in life generally, and how did it help you grow?
I think having two founders, you get radical candor all the time. There's no escaping it. Probably the best one for me is actually when I was 12 or so. I had a year 6 teacher, and in our school system, you actually get a mark for effort and you get a mark for results. And throughout my entire school career, the teachers had always said, yeah, A for effort, A for results. And this particular school teacher gave me an A for results and then like an F for effort. And I remember going back to my parents and almost teary, like, hang on, I've always been this top student doing everything right, and now I've got this F for effort. And my school teacher said, yeah, just phones it in, should really work harder. And so, yeah, from that point, I ended up, actually putting some effort into school and doing really well. But it was kind of that wake-up call, and I'd had teachers for, I guess, my entire school career up until that point who just sort of ticked the box, yeah, whatever, didn't even think about it. And that teacher was kind enough to give me real feedback.
Mike, you got an example?
I have a few, lots. Trying to think which one to pick. Maybe it's a somewhat topical one. We do these presentations. It's a huge amount of work. It's very exciting when you get off stage. You feel really good. And then sometimes Scott will get off stage and he'll go, that was awesome. That was awesome. That was really good. Now, next time you give that, you should try this and say, I'm less. I think it's something you've told me in the past and things like this. I'm like, what? And it's almost like always on point, right? But I certainly much like Kim Scott, I think, have become a better presenter over time from that feedback that is like most timely delivered. Like if that happens 3 weeks later, you're like, yeah, whatever, like I don't remember anymore. Whereas if it happens straight away, you get a much better sense of, oh, yeah. And I think the thing I'm learning is to open myself up to listening to that feedback, right? To actually say, oh, wow, okay, yeah, that's a totally valid thing. I did do that, and just remembering and then trying to internalize it more at the time.
You guys have been a great team for, 16 years now, and naturally in a team, part of teamwork is resolving conflict. And I'm curious, how do you resolve conflict when you disagree? How do you guys resolve that together?
You want to choose who's going to answer that?
This could go on for hours. All right.
That's how we resolve conflict.
You won that one.
I won that one?
I guess you get to answer the question.
That literally is how we resolve conflict.
All right, there you go. All right.
I think in our shareholders agreement, it's originally
it used to say. It doesn't say anymore.
Doesn't say anymore. No, public company, we can't do that anymore. But when we were small, it used to be we disagree, it then goes to like arbitration, and then if it doesn't go any, then basically it's scissors, paper, rock is the way we solve any problems we have.
Yeah. What are the kinds of things that
you can call it Rochambeau in a shareholders agreement if you wanted to sound more sophisticated.
Rochambeau, yeah, exactly.
Rochambeau. Oh, okay.
What are the kinds of things you guys disagree on?
I don't think we've really had any big disagreements, but what I've found is that when Mike disagrees with me, it's usually because I'm wrong, and so usually it's okay. It takes a little while to listen and open up to that. But Mike's a really smart guy. He has most of the same, kind of experiences as I do. And so if we vehemently disagree, there's usually actually a even better solution out there that neither of us have come up with. That sort of have a really good idea until you chat with Mike and then realize it's not such a good idea after all, and together we come up with something better. So I don't think we've ever had like a big screaming match in 15 years.
No, not really like that. It's more of exactly what Kim Scott talked about, the creative, what did you call it, creative conflict? Was that the term? That there's a lot of robust discussions, but it's always, I think what's important with disagreement is the focus is always on making the product better, making the company better, and as long as people are aligned with that as the end goal, then the disagreement's a lot more easy to kind of, or the conflict, the discussion, whatever, is a lot easier to get through, right? It's not a personal thing or whatever.
Yeah.
So I know both of you are voracious readers. I don't know where you find the time, but I thought we'd end with, and it can't be Radical Candor because we've already recommended it, but a single recent book that you've read that you'd want to recommend people go out and grab and read, and maybe what you learned from it.
I have two. My all-time favorite book for business people is The Effective Executive by Peter Drucker. And the great thing is it's really thin. You can read it on a plane. And he doesn't have that usual thing where each idea, actually should be 10 pages, but is an entire book. He actually has 10 pages and about, 7 or 8 of those ideas. And so that's a really good book. The most recent one for me would be Multipliers. I think Liz Wiseman is the author. And basically the idea is that your job as a leader is different to your job as a doer, and actually all of the characteristics that make you a great doer, you're having all the answers and be the smartest person in the room, all those things actually make you a less good leader. And that's been a really difficult evolution for me. In that book they talk about, grabbing the virtual whiteboard marker and, taking it out of your, direct report's hands and, answering the question. And I didn't think it was a virtual whiteboard marker. I can literally think of times when I've ripped the whiteboard marker out of someone's hand and said, no, stand back, I'll show you how it's done. You've
done that to me.
I've done that to you, yeah. This entire front row is like, I can't look at them now. But the...
you need a whiteboard marker? I've got one right.
You got one there, right, yeah. Yeah, that's just difficult. To go from that sort of being a high-performer individual to a high-performance manager is a completely different skill set.
The most recent book I've read, I don't remember the title, but you can Google it, I'm sure. It was about Pixar, written by the CFO of Pixar, which sounds, that's a terrible introduction. it's a very interesting view. I mean, Creativity Inc. came out a couple of years ago by Ed Catmull, I think he was the president of Pixar, about the creative process. The CFO, Lawrence something or other, just came out with a book a few months ago about the whole Pixar journey from when he started. Jobs gives him a call and says, I've got this company, and he goes up and there's like 3 guys, pre-Toy Story, pre-anything. He's like, why would I take this job? All the way through them going public, all the way to getting support by Disney. And it's a fascinating look on how, you know, he's a CFO. He's very strategic, but he's very financially minded, and you have all these creative people, and he kind of tries to tie the two together, and he goes through his own sort of transformation of seeing the value in how do we let them be creative but still build a great business. The model in film is really tough. I thought it was very well written, both interesting, another view on the backstory of a very iconic company, but also his sort of struggle with the balance of, I guess, the art and science that was behind Pixar.
I want to thank you guys for being good sports and letting us surprise you on stage after Bash with a few things. I want you to stay there, but a big round of applause for the discussion. That was awesome. We're gonna cut you loose. There's one quick announcement before we do. You know, we've been overwhelmed by the folks that have gone by the Be the Match booth, and that's still open. So if you haven't done that and you'd like to, you can. The one little note we wanted to add is you get an email that's sent to you, and you actually need to click on an email to go all the way through the process. And so some folks have stopped by the booth, but aren't clicking on the email. And then, you know, remember that we're back here in the afternoon for Ship It Live. Ship It Live, I think, promises to either be absolutely incredible or a complete train wreck. Either way, it's going to be fun to watch. And I thought we'd go back live to the Ship It Live area and just check in with them as they're readying their projects. So maybe over to you, Molly.
Thanks so much, Jay. Coming to you live from the green room. Everyone here is really excited. They had a fantastic time at Bash last night.
Some had almost too much fun.
Let's check over on the purple team, for example. Leo, how are you doing over here? You ready to rumble?
I'm always ready.
All right, purple's ready. But green, I hear that you guys are having a little bit of pressure from your home offices.
Just a little bit. Tommy from Workplace Experience said he deactivated my access pass and won't reactivate it unless I win.
Good luck to you guys.
Let's check in on the red team and see how they're doing.
Hey.
Pete, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good, yeah. The guys are looking after me. There's a few mind games going on, but, you know, I'm staying focused. I've got this.
Excellent. Good luck with the presentation. That's it from the green room. We're pumped. We're excited. Back to you, Jay.
All right, awesome. Be sure to come back for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And from the 3 of us, I want to thank all of you. I hope you've had a great summit. I hope you have a great day today. We'll see you both back here and hopefully next year. Thanks, everybody.